Welcome to the Baccarat Edge. This is the Baccarat Edge. I keep saying zone for some reason. I don't know why I keep saying zone. I think that's one of the names I was contemplating when I was thinking about doing this particular YouTube channel. So this is actually the Baccarat Edge. And every time I say zone, somebody correct me on that shit. But anyway. This is the Baccarat Edge. And, I was reading some of the comments, and we got the momentum guy out there, Glenn. And as I'm sitting up here getting stuff together for this video, he had mentioned something about trading ranges. And I am definitely going to get into that. That is a must, because when I went back and looked at some of my old shoes, trading ranges were an issue with me when I wasn't looking at them the way I'm looking at charts now. They were an issue with me because what happens is you get caught up in a chopped shoe. So we're going to get caught up. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about a little bit about this chart you see before you. This chart you see before you is an old shoe. I want to say it was probably at Rivers Casino, and I only made, if you can see these numbers, I only made 3 units by the net. 3 units. By the time it was all said and done, I only pulled 3 units out of this shoe. So a good idea is don't tear your shoes up. Don't throw your shoes away. Take them home and review. Either you got the hard copy of this kind of chart and you can do, or you could get this particular Excel sheet from me for a mere price of $35, and enter your shoes and save them, and get used to looking at support and resistance. Because once this comes natural to me. Anybody that's trading, it comes natural to them. You automatically start looking at market structure. You start seeing places of support. You start seeing places of resistance. And we're going to go over a couple of old shoes that way today, just so you can see where I was making mistakes. And when Glenn mentioned talk about the ranges, I got into ranges, but I didn't get deep enough, because the ranges can be dreadful if you don't know what to do when you're trading, or trying to trade, but trying to bet inside of a range. Okay. And I'd come to the conclusion after playing quite a few shoes, real time, sit on your hands. If you don't know what to do, sit on your hands. And we're going to go through that. So with that being said, this shoe you see before you, this is the way I used to track these shoes when I was first dealing with Baccarat. And I learned this way. I started tracking this way once I started looking at a lot of E. Clifton Davis stuff. I started tracking shoes this way. But this particular shoe right here was done inside of, I want to say whether it was done in Rivers Casino, or it might have been done in one of the casinos in Indiana, but it was definitely a real shoe. And I only ended up with 3 units by the time this shoe was said and done. But if you look up on the infamous chart, I see a whole lot of opportunities where I could have gotten 3 units. And before I get started, let me say something else. There was somebody who was trying to get a Excel spreadsheet from me. I want to say your name is Giovanni. I want to say he or she is over in Italy. If you're still having problems, send me an email so I can make sure this particular sheet gets out to you, but you haven't sent anything lately. So just give me a thumbs up and let me know that everything is okay and you got this sheet. Because if you can't receive it by email, then at least we can do is we can go up on Telegram and I can send it to you that way. I just want to make sure that everybody is satisfied with the Excel spreadsheet. And let me get into this for a minute, because this Excel spreadsheet, and when you start looking at charts, this is not something that becomes, we're going to look at this sheet for a minute. This is not something that becomes natural to you your first couple of tries. I'm going to open up a sheet just for Excel spreadsheet, just for namesake, because, well, we can use this sheet right here in front of us, because when you start looking at charting, you know, I've been looking at charts ever since 1988, 1980, 87, 88, 87. This is before even everybody had a computer in their house. So I've been looking at charts for a while. I'm in I'm 58 years old. You know, getting up there to be an old man now. But anyway, I've been looking at charts for a very long time. So when I'm looking at a chart, everything just comes natural to me. Market structure, support, resistance. And this might not come as easy to you, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to train your mind to look at charts this particular way that you see in front of you. Okay? So if you don't get it immediately, take your time. Nothing comes easy. Everything comes with work. There is no quick remedy to none of this. There is no quick remedy to none of this. This is what you see and how you see me charting, and I automatically see things. This is putting in years and years of work, and anybody who is into looking at stock charts, forex charts, commodity charts, and has been doing it for years or decades can attest to that. This is not something that you automatically get or something that you automatically understand in a day. Now, with that being said, the first thing you do when you start charting this particular way is you start looking at your support and your resistance. And it'll come natural to you. It will come. You start looking at your support and your resistance. Because if you don't understand market structure, you're not going to get it. If you don't understand market structure, you're not going to get it. It's not going to come that easy. Immediately, the first thing you do when you start looking at a chart is look at your market structure. Let's go through the market structure of this particular chart right here. First thing we got is we got resistance right here at +3. Okay? We got resistance right here at +3. So now we know, plus, of course, looking in hindsight, +3 is going to be a problem. Okay? So we got +3 right here as resistance. Did I say support or resistance? I want to say resistance. So we got resistance right here at +3. You have minus support down here at -3. If you went back and watched the first couple of videos, I think one of the first things I said was, anytime you have something going on between +3 and -3, and these are my rules. You can set those numbers to whatever you want. But my thing is, it's in a real tight range when you're trading, or when it's when you got hands between +3. That's a +3. And you got -3 right there on the graph. You could almost flip a coin and just say, okay, which way I'm going to go. But I have a tendency to favor which side of 0 it's on, and that's who I'm going to favor. Okay? So by the time you get up here to hand 15, and I start betting somewhere between hand 15 and hand 20. Okay? Sometimes you might start betting earlier than that. Here is a confirmation right here at hand 8, and you might have wanted to take this ride down, and you would end up 1, 2, 3, 2. You would probably, and all this is pure speculation, at a +2 right there. It depends on how you are reading the chart. This is not a system. There are no rules etched in stone saying you have to do this and you have to do that. But I tell you what you do have to do. You have to be reading the support, resistance, the market structure. And we're going to look at, I do have a shoe where the trading range is tight. And we're going to talk about that. Because when that trading range is tight, I learned how to just sit on my hands. There's nothing you can do inside of a range, not unless that range is big enough where you got 4 or 5 plays between the bottom and the top, and you can ride that range up and come out with a couple units, and ride that range down and come out with a couple units. But take your time and go over the most where you're going to learn the most, where you're going to get the most information from is you're going to get the most information from going over your losing shoes. Winning shoes don't mean shit. We happy about that. It's your losing shoes that's going to teach you a lot. So anytime you're between +3 and -3, and you got that 0 right in between that divides that, you have to pay attention to your market structure. See what's going on. Okay? So you got little resistance that's starting to build up right here at +3. And then if you go over, it does it again right there at hand 17. Hand 17 can't get above +3. Turns around, goes back down. Now, let's talk about something here for a minute. Here's a little tight range here. Let's talk about this little tight range right here. This is a small range. I got to shoot huge range, but this is a range. When you start getting back and forth like this, that's a range. This is a real small range. So the breakout of this range right here, the breakout right here, or a confirmation right there, you get a small run down. This is a range. This is a very small range right here. Okay? Like I said, you don't see this stuff immediately, but once you start to get an eye for it, and I can't stand ranges in trading. I cannot stand range. I can't range trade to save my life. I wait for the runs to start. Give me the runs. That's what I want to see. And depending on if you're a trader, the kind of trader you are, I mean, you got people who love breakouts, and you got people who range trade, and I guarantee you, well, not going to guarantee you, but a lot of people who are looking at these charts, whether you're a breakout or a range trader. My partner, he prefers trading the range, where I want to see a breakout. Let me see a breakout. So from that aspect, you have to decide, are you going to be a breakout? Are you going to wait for a breakout? Or are you going to try to trade the range? That's what you have to ask yourself. Now, in this shoe down here, you can see I only came out with 3 units. This is an old shoe. This is the way I used to chart. But now that I look at it this way, I would have hit more than 3 units in this shoe. I guarantee you that. I would have hit more than 3 units in this shoe. So let's get back to this chart. So you can see we got problems at +3. That's major resistance. Okay? Turn around, went back down. And what's your market structure? Here you have a lower high. That's a lower high. But right here, you have a higher low. When you have a lower high and a higher low, I call that, or we call that in trading, going into oscillation. That means it's going to start zigzagging back and forth a minute. And as you can see, it just got real tight here for a minute. This whole area got real tight. So here's another range. And notice the range is starting to get a little longer now. If there is no space for you to bet up to resistance or down to support, another saying in trading, sit on your hands. Sit on your hands. That's the hard part. Discipline. I'm still working on that to this day. Sit on your hands. Because you can't sit on your hands, and if you're just here for betting just to see some action, hey, you're going to have a hard time dealing with this. This is the real deal right here. This is the real deal right here. Trading ranges, when they're tight, they are very hard to trade. Not less, in trading, we can go down to like a smaller time frame. So, say like if you're looking at a 1-minute chart, you might want to go down to a 30-second chart or a 4-tick range chart, or, it's all kinds of options you have in trading. But this Baccarat, you don't have that option. In Baccarat, you do not have that option. You can't go down to a smaller range or up to a bigger range, or change the time frame from a 1-minute to a 5-minute, or whatever the case you might be. This is what it is right here. You don't even have enough hands in Baccarat. Now, if we were doing something like 300, 400, 500 hands, you could play point and figure with this and some more stuff. Speaking of point and figure, I'll come back to that chart in a minute. Speaking of point and figure, here's a point and figure. Here is a point and figure. Let's see this for a second. This is a Baccarat shoe point and figure. Here's a point and figure with the E-mini for you traders out here. Not going to get you guys confused. I just want to show you traders that, yes, you can do point and figure with Baccarat. This is a Baccarat shoe. This is the Baccarat shoe I went over in the last video. This is that actual Baccarat shoe I went over in the last video. That's that shoe. So you see your support, you see your resistance. Just wanted to show you guys that is an option. Let's get back to the chart we were looking at hand. But point and figure can be done. Point and figure is just another way of taking the noise out of the market. Renko is just another way of taking the noise out of the market. This right here is a Renko chart. This right here, this whole chart right here is a Renko chart. But back to this sideways action. If you get caught in a range like this, sit on your hands. And what do I mean when I say sit on your hands? Don't bet. Just don't bet. I have some examples of some big ranges and some small ranges. This is a tight range. When you only got 2-3 hands between the top and the bottom, there's nothing you can do here. There's nothing you can do here at all. Not unless you want to try to, take one hand out, take a player hand out or a banker hand out every time it gets down here to support. You can go for banker, hopefully your banker comes there. Hopefully you grab that. You might grab 3 units out of there. And that's if you see it on time. That's if you're on top of your game. You got to be on top of your game to see it. You got to be 100% on top of your game to even think about that every time this thing gets down here to support, I'm going to motherfucking, excuse my language, I'm going to try and go for a banker, or vice versa if you're on the player side. So with that being said, that's a range. This right here is a range. Okay? Me, I'm waiting for the breakout. That's my confirmation right there. That's my confirmation right there coming out of a range because it's breaking resistance. This is resistance right here, up here. That's breaking resistance. You got support down here. So the breakout to the upside, here's your confirmation right here. And you can just keep betting banker until you lose. And I'm going to keep stressing this because it's hard to see if you're not looking at charts every day. If you're new to this and you're not getting it, I'm going to put enough videos out there until you do get it. Like my man Glenn said, talk about the ranges. I'm going to talk about the ranges. I'm going to talk about counter plays. I'm going to talk about hitting support, hitting resistance, because I assume, or, what a lot of people assume is, a lot of times, if I'm talking to traders, the traders are going to automatically see support, resistance, counter plays. But I have to assume that a lot of you guys have no idea how to read charts. Like I say, these are the decisions a trader makes every day, whether they're day trading or whether they're holding positions for long term or medium term. Long term or medium term might be holding it just for a couple of days, or holding it for a couple of nights, or holding it for a week, or holding it for 2. I have a friend who trades forex, and he trades off the weekly. He likes the weekly and the monthly because he doesn't want to be bothered with the stress. So, depending on you and what you like to see, whether you like to see breakouts or whether you like to see, the top of ranges and you start selling when it hits the top of a range, or you start hitting, or you start buying when it hits the bottom of a range, that's going to be on you. This is not a system. This is an approach. I'm just here trying to show you guys another way of looking at a Baccarat chart. That's what I'm doing here. This is not a system. Somebody also asked me, well, what is your hit rate? How many rates are you hitting this at? If my hit rate can be up, my hit rate can be up, and my hit rate, I would think my hit rate is kind of high compared to what I'm doing now. And anybody who has ever traded and looking at this chart, your hit rate would probably be phenomenal. And I'm not going to give no percentages, because what my hit rate is and what your hit rate is can be 2 totally different things. Why? Because I am more experienced in this than you. Your hit rate might be low because you're not seeing the support, the resistance, the counter plays. When I first started doing this, I remember talking to a partner of mine, and I talked about the hit rate. I said, man, this hit rate is extraordinary. Don't quote me on this. My hit rate, if I'm not mistaken, my hit rate is more than 60, 70%, which is not bad. And that's depending on how you're betting. I remember when I first started doing this at the casino, my partner was playing. We were playing a shoe, and I have the shoe, and I'm going to bring it out in a few minutes. We were playing a shoe where I couldn't adjust, and this is when we were first getting the feel of playing the chart this way. I couldn't adjust to the range because I wasn't looking at it that way. I wasn't seeing it that way. I had a hard time inside the range. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let me back up. If you have a hard time trading inside of ranges, back up. Stop betting. Draw your support and resistance. Draw your support and resistance and wait for the breakout. This looking at it down here, the way I looked at it down here, man, I was struggling with this shoe. And yes, if you look at shoes the way it is down here at the bottom, a lot of people would have probably caught that. Yeah, I'd have caught that run. You wouldn't have caught nothing. You know why? Because when you're trading real time or betting real time, your mind does funny things. You don't know if you're going to lose. You don't know if you're going to win. Or the way you're trying to bet, you're looking for a 3 in a row, or you're looking for a 5 in a row before you start betting the opposite. This way and the big road way, you can't see what you see this way on this chart up here above. Now this shoe was you look down at the bottom, man, this shoe was running like crazy. Well, after 3, you get a lot of people say, well, after I saw 3 or 4 in a row, I would have just started betting this. So I just would have started betting that. Yeah, okay. Same as goes with real-time trading. I can sit up here and say, man, I would have went long here. I would have went short there. Let me tell you something. When you go real time, all that shit goes out the door. All that goes out the door. So trading in ranges, I've come to the conclusion, trading in ranges, if you are not a range trader, sit on your hands. Let's look at another chart. Let's look at another chart. I'm going to bring a real-time chart up. This was when I first started trading. This particular chart right here. Or not trading, but when I first started playing back in June. I first started playing this way back at the beginning of June. And look at the range on this. Look at the range on this chart. The blue circles, this is before I started fine tuning everything. The blue circles are player, the red is banker. As you can see on the new chart now, I use X's and stuff. So this is back in June, beginning of June, when I started realizing, and I hadn't quite got a grip on everything yet. Look at this range right here. That's a range. That's a range. And trading in ranges, now that I've had time to go over losing shoes and get my thoughts together, trading in ranges, look for your support. Where's my squiggly line on that? Use this. Look for support. Look at your support lines. Look for your breakout lines. That's your breakout. That's your breakout right there. Look at that run. I caught one I didn't. That's a losing play right there. The ones you see inside the circle is where I was catching winning plays, and I hadn't quite got my thoughts together how I wanted to play this, but after you play enough of these shoes, and this is real time, you start to recognize support, resistance. This is when I first started doing this, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is just like looking at a trading chart. Where you see the ones inside of the circles is where I caught a winning trade. If you see a one outside of the circle, that's where I caught a losing trade. I think this was like a break-even shoe by the time it was all said and done. This was like a break-even shoe by the time it was all said and done. But look at this range. And a lot of times, and this is what we're running into, and this is where you sit on your hands. Unless you are familiar with range trading or range betting, and Baccarat is range betting, and on the charts for E-mini is range trading. Unless you like selling every time it hits resistance, or buying right around support area, this is not for me. This might be for you, but it's not for me. I would love for some of you guys to send in, and this is where the shoe gets hard. This is where the shoe gets hard. Now, of course, hindsight, you can take this shoe, and every time it gets down here to support, and support is going to be a player. It's not going to be a banker. It's going to be a player, because that's where it turns around at. It turns around and you don't see the next play until a banker comes. Then you realize, oh, that was support. That's support. That's support. See, this doesn't look like, what you see. It doesn't look like what we call in theory, in the books. In the books you see perfect support and resistance line. This is the kind of stuff you're going to see in a casino. And this is the kind of stuff that throws you off. It threw me off. And that's when I'm like, wait a minute, this is a range. This is what you're talking about right here, Glenn. This is a range. This is a tight range. But I also have a shoe where the range is loosened up a little bit. But nonetheless, you're still in a range. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, they have a saying, a market is ranging, is it 70% of the time, and it's only running 30% of the time? Hell, this supports that saying right there. And if you can't trade this range, sit out. Sit out. I'm a breakout trader. This was my go-to right here. Notice I caught that, and I didn't think it was going to run. Look how many players came after that. This is a real shoe. This is how much money I left on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then so I left 5 units on the table because I was unsure of this run right here. And when I played that run, I'm like, do we got a breakout here? And I played the breakout, and look what it did. This is what I was talking about the other day on the video. Practice makes perfect. And it only took me about 4 or 5 days before I realized, wait a minute, I'm trading here. Let me start applying my trading techniques to this Baccarat chart. I have many more shoes like this. And this was back in June when I first started to get a grip on what was going on here. That's when I started doing the videos. I think I started doing the videos right after that. So, either you can trade the range, and I'm not saying you cannot trade the range. But when you're trading the range, if it's too tight, this is a tight range. If it's too tight, then you can play inside. And notice I was playing for a breakout. And every time right here, I can understand that. Let's look at this for a second, because I can tell you exactly what was probably on my mind. I was playing for a breakout right there because it had already broke this resistance right here. I got a confirmation, and then boom, it didn't go. It came back down to player. And then when player came, I played again for that. I should have just went for one. I went for two, and I went for three. So I ended up with 1, 2, 3. So I ended up getting like 1, maybe +2 right there, maybe +2. I think that's how it went. I think I lost a unit right there. I'm not sure why I scratched it out. I might have taken the bet down. I might have changed my mind because I started to realize what was going on here. And every time it hit player, I hit that bank. And then I tried it again right there. I see what was going on. And then I tried it again right there. So it went down to player with +5, come all the way across there, +5 realizing +5 was support. That was a confirmation right there. And that's when you see that number 1 right there. I got in right there and made a unit right there. Did not bet that top. Learned my lesson on betting that top. Came down. Wait, and you know what? I remember this shoe now because my partner, every time he hit player, he played the blind. He went for that play. He went for that banker play. I waited for confirmation and went for that play. So he hit that. He hit that. Boom. And he hit that. And I was losing because I was waiting for confirmation because he loves range trading. He loves range trading. That's my telephone. Anyway, yeah, he loves range trading. So he was banging it while I was having a hard time inside of that range. He was banging it while I was having a hard time inside of that range. Range trading, or we're going to call this range betting, can be very difficult. But now I know what I'm looking for in range bets. When you're in range bets, let's go back down to this and let's start looking at this. And this is a real shoe, so you'll get an idea of exactly what's going on. Range bets, wait till it gets to the top and starts making resistance, or wait till it gets to the bottom and starts using support. You're in a tight range like this, you're only going to ask for 1, maybe 2 units. When it gets down here and hits that support, that's your bet right there. Hit support, that's your bet right there, but you would have lost right there. Boom. And when I got the confirmation right there, you see that where I made that right there, because it broke by 1 and then it turned around and came back up again. When you see this happening, as it's happening in actual play, it could be very, very confusing. Very confusing. So range betting, you can wait for it to hit the top of resistance, and don't do it the second. Wait for the third one and just risk 1 chip. Wait for it to hit that third time and just bet 1 chip to the player. Or wait for it to hit that support. Here's definitely a third time. Boom, you would have missed that one. But here it is again. Here's that support. Hit support, make that bet. Hit support, make that bet. Range trading is hard. It's hard. Hit support, make that bet. And the reason why you're betting banker is because we're on the plus side of 0. I'm glad I can give an example with a real shoe. And like I said, this was back in beginning of June when I first started getting the feel of this. This is reading ranges is not easy. Reading ranges is not easy at all. When you look at it up here on this chart, this is just cleaned up a little bit. Let's look at it cleaned up a little bit on this chart now. Starting roughly right around hand 13, look at that range. That's a range. And when you start, draw your zigzag lines. Haven't talked about that lately. Draw your zigzag lines. There's the breakout. So from hand 12 up to hand 40, if you'd have sat still and waited for a breakout, you would have caught this right here. You would have caught that run right there. That right there probably would have been worth just waiting instead of getting chopped up. Because getting chopped up in a sideways market, or a sideways Baccarat market that is, ain't no fun. You can see, and I consider myself having experience in range trading, but this kind of blew my mind because I had never seen this in Baccarat before. And then when it dawned on me, wait a minute, this is an E-mini chart, or this is a forex chart. I don't trade ranges. I said I wasn't going to mess with them no more. This is where I probably came to the conclusion that I wasn't going to mess with them no more. Okay? So decide if you're going to be a breakout or a range, or you can do both. You might get good at both. I want to get good at both. That's my goal, to get good at both. Because like I said, 70% of the time you will probably see ranging, and the other 30% is when you're going to see the breakout. This hand didn't break out till it got to hand 40. Would you have been patient enough to wait for that breakout so you can get, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can get plus 6. Don't know. This is, and look at, you got support right here. Now we're mixing counterplays, putting counterplays in the mix and everything, because when you see counterplays like that, and then you see a breakout, you would have caught that, you would have caught that. So that's a break even right there. Then it turned around and made a V. There would have been no reason to catch none of this right here. You know, I can make some shit up, but what for? You know, I wouldn't have caught none of that. I wouldn't have caught it. And as you can see, the end of the shoe, I didn't catch none of that. Because after I saw this right here, this player run right here, I'm like, son of a gun. These charts are looking just like trading charts. So, that's what goes on. But practice trading in the range. Practice seeing, and this is how it's going to look real time. Your charts are not going to be clean like this, because this is me charting real time at in a real casino. It doesn't look, you're not going to see this neat shit right here. You're going to see this kind of stuff right here. So, make sure your charts are nice and neat. Use X's instead of zeros. So you use use 0 for a banker, use an X for a player. That way you can tell the difference between what is what. I got to put a buddy of mine. Here's how he charts, by the way. Let me open this up. I got to open this up and show you this chart right here. And I said, man, and he makes, and he does well. He does well. I told him to send me this chart. I said, man, send me that chart. This was at in the last month where he was, I don't know where he was doing it at, but this is in the last month. And he uses zeros Let's minimize this for a second. He uses zeros because I said, man, why are you using zeros on that? Because he knows a down play is player and an up is banker. He just uses zeros across all his things. But you can see right here, he's like plus 15 units. He's making a killing. And he likes trading ranges. Look at these ranges he's trading right here. Look at this range he's trading right here. Quarter three right there. Quarter three right there. Mr. Three right there. Quarter three right there. Mr. Three right there. Mr. Three right there. But he maxed out at plus 18. And I think if you look, let's turn this sideways. When he runs out of charting going one way, he'll start charting sideways another way. Look at this run he caught. This is not my shoe. This is my trading partner, and we both trade together. So when he plays Baccarat, he's a fan of Baccarat too. Anybody that's charting will automatically see he caught this breakout right here. Look at that. That was no joke. You're going to catch the runs. Resistance right here, resistance. He waited for a confirmation. He caught that. He missed that. Into the shoe. EOS. In the shoe right there. He ended up with plus 18 for that particular shoe. He ended up with 18 units for that particular shoe. Okay? So that's just, here's a shoe. Here's another real shoe that I played. And this was back at the beginning of June. And at the time, and now I'm starting to get in groove. I'm starting to get in the groove. By the time I've had to hit the second or third shoe, I'm starting to get the groove of this. Because now I'm starting to realize, wait a minute, this is just like trading. Here's the benefit of playing Baccarat compared to trading. You're only risking 1 unit. When you're trading, that E-mini can zip on you, or that euro dollar, or the euro US dollar, or that British pound, whether you're trading NASDAQ, whatever, it'll zip on you, and you can be up or down $200-300 just like that. If you're down $200-300, it ain't no fun. But this right here is almost like a controlled play, because if you lose that 1 unit, you get to decide if you want to get back in or not. You don't get to do that in trading. You have to use a stop loss in trading. You have to use a stop loss and say, okay, I'm going to only risk, say $200 on this particular trade, or I'm going to risk $150 on this trade. And you're sitting in your seat fidgeting until that trade is over with. But right here at Baccarat, let's get into this shoe right here, because this was a real shoe. And this was that same day, because when I started to realize what was going on, when I got to that second or third shoe, I'm like, okay, let me start to get this the way I'm starting to feel this. And you can see we got resistance right here at 0. Let's see if I can make that a little better. It's in a range, first couple of hands, up to like right around hand 10. Okay? Right around hand 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The slash, yeah, that's hand 10. Slashes you see are ties. Okay? You can record ties or not. I like to see ties because I definitely think when you see a tie, you're about to get a turnaround. Something is about to happen that if you're making money and you see a tie, hold back a hand or two, because something's about to happen that you're not going to want to see. Ties give you some type of indication that the characteristic of the shoe is changing. Here's a tight range right here. Okay? You get right here, you got a breakout, and then boom, it starts to run. You get a small run here, not much, two plays, 3 plays at the most. Then it turns around, comes back down. Pay attention to your market structure. You got a lower high right there. You got a lower high than the last high. Notice the market structure is starting to grind down on you. If you look down on the actual chart, I caught that play, I caught that play, I caught that play, I lost that play. When I start betting on a run, the first loss, I will stop betting. So if you catch a run right here, I caught 1, 2, I caught a run of 3, and then it turns around and reverses on you, freeze for a moment. See what that chart is going to do, because right here, it broke with it breaking right here. And I don't know why. I don't know what made me start betting that. I can't tell you. I don't know. Probably because it was a lower high. It was a lower high. And then when I got the confirmation right there, off to the races. Okay? So, here's what I was getting ready to say. When you start getting, here's a lower low right there on this chart. We're back up here to the former looking chart for a second. When your market structure starts giving you what you want, here's a lower low compared to this low right there. So that's a lower low. Here's a lower low, which is only one play away. Starting to get resistance right here. Now here's the range. Here's another range. Let's mark this range. Actually, the range is starting right around here, so I can mark it from here. Bang, bang. Let's look at that range. Look at that range. From this right here, from this resistance up here, from that resistance up there to got major support down here. You only got one hit there, 1, 2, 3. You only got 3 plays. If you can manage to grind or a chip or 2 or a unit or 2 out of there, have at it. I do not like ranges. If you look down here in real play, I think I got up to like a +4 or +3. Then it was a +4. Then I hit one more down here because I was looking for a breakout. Now, with that being said, don't try to do both. Don't try to trade ranges and breakouts at the same time. Practice on one at a time. Concentrate on one at a time. Concentrate on the ranges, and then once you get that, and then concentrate on the breakouts, and then once you get that, because if you can get both of these together, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. Because notice you have resistance right here, and it was also a lower high. But then it found support right around in here, and then this actually looks like another range altogether different. This is a whole nother range. Let me put a square around that. That's another whole range altogether. So practice your range, practice your breakout. Then too, when you look at it this way, That's a very tight range. Very tight range. And when you got a lot of writing and shit going on, that could become a little bit confusing. And then you got to step back and look and say, am I in a range, or am I about to break out? Do I need to do my range technique? Is what I just went over. And you see it hitting that resistance, and that's what I was doing. It was hitting resistance. I was going for player there. Never got back up there, so I never played it again. Got back up here this time, wasn't sure. Bang, it hit right there. But then you got support right here. You got that support right there. So, trading ranges is very hard, but you have to get an eye for it. So you can decide whether you want to better range or better breakout. Welcome to the Baccarat Edge. Talking about range trading, talking about support and resistance. We're going to pick this up on another video because I have many more shoes to discuss in the analysis of range trading or range betting in a Baccarat shoe. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This video is going into an hour. Why an hour goes by just like that. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some more shoes. By the way, that last video, I wanted to make a correction on this. That last video, I think that video was titled Casinos That Fear This Pattern. That wasn't for my pattern. That was for the $10,000 pattern that was for sale. But my pattern did come out pretty good with that. So, and I do have some more analysis on that, but I'm going to be bringing in some more real-time shoes as we go along. So, because, when you get into the psychology, whether you're trading, whether you're gambling, man, that psychology and being able to handle stress and think things out logically under stress, that makes you do things differently. And I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I'm just telling you from experience. And I want to get into that a little bit also. But like I said, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And also, and I got to stress this particular sheet right here, under the last video, you'll see a link button, whether you want to do this sheet, PayPal, or Cash App, PayPal or Cash App. Let me know, because being able to practice this shoe, and this is the only cost. This is the cost of business. This is the cost of being able to go through those shoes, and not, and training your eye to be able to do exactly what you want to see. Because when you get in a tight range like this right here, that can be very confusing. So anyway, talk to you guys in a bit. We're coming up exactly on an hour now. I don't want to run over an hour. So we got many more videos to do. Plenty more things to talk about. Talk to you in a bit. Later.